Hey guys, it's Clayton from 316 Creative Works. Hey, listen, if you know me, you know that 316 Creative Works exists to partner with artists, businesses, and churches. One of my good friends is a business guy. It's the Maynard family, and they run a business, and now they're in partnership with us. So that's Precision Door Service. Listen, in case of emergency, I always call Precision Door Service. They are experts in repairing, replacing all your garage doors and overhead doors. They can be reached. They got two numbers. The Indiana side is area code 219 306 8155. Again, 219 306 8155. Now, on the Illinois side, Precision Door Service can be contacted at area code 708 474 6657. The number again is 708 474 6657. You can always get them at precisiongarage-door.com. That's precisiongarage-door.com. Of course, we'll probably have Justin throw a contact card up there for you so you guys can see it if you're watching this. Again, this is Clayton from 316 Creative Works, introducing you to another member of the family, the business of Precision Door Service. Thanks, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another 316 podcast. I am Clayton from 316 Creative Works. Today we are back with Greg and we are talking with Greg. But before we get any further, we always need to thank our production crew. Please always thank Larry and Sandy. We need to thank Danielle, our house manager. Justin is our producer and Esther is our creative producer. So back here's episode 2 with talking with Greg Hitt. Now, Greg, when we left off last time, we just got into your business prowess, right? You're entrepreneur, you're restaurateur, right? You're married, started having kids. Life was fun. Marriage was fun. Started having kids, right?
That's where we were.
Who's the oldest?
My children?
Yeah.
Natalie.
So Natalie comes out, and you're a beaming father. You just fall madly in love right away.
Little girls are special.
Yeah, they are. You start getting into work, celebrity chef. You have a second kid.
Yeah, just to back up a little bit, from the time I was 13 until I was 39, I worked so hard and so many hours between the restaurant and the catering business that my life was just a blur of, 14, 8, 16, 17-hour days, literally.
So you're building a business and your wife is building a family.
Well, I was building more than one business. I had 2 or 3 restaurants. I started a couple for some more people. I had a very, very high-profile, very highly successful catering business where I would be feeding people from around the world. At the top of big buildings with guys that had dining rooms with golden china, and I would be feeding 3 people from Australia or whatever, and had to design the menus and come up with those sort of things on a daily basis, and just come up with something and never have done it before in my life, and just did it. Just to go back, it wasn't getting married, and I worked hard. It started when I was 13, and it just flowed, and then I got married and had children, and to me, it seems like then the heart attack happened and things changed.
So from 13 to 39, you were out chasing your dream, and you were good at it. Was that your sweet spot? Is that what you were created to do?
I'm so comfortable with a knife in my hand. Oh. And as I speak to you, sometimes I wish I did have a knife in my hand.
That sounds
under the table, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was at the time, and sometimes I still believe that that's what I was meant to do. I am blessed to have friends that still own catering facilities and restaurants, and they'll call me during the holidays or throughout the year and say, "Hey, Greg, we need to come trim 150 pounds of beef tenderloin, bring your knife. Well, I'm excited. Why? Because it's a get-to thing, not a have-to thing, right? I get to go out and play with my knives and have fun with my friends instead of have to do it by a certain time. And
Yeah. Did you make a lot of money?
yes, as a matter of fact, I did. Looking back, I found some things recently in the 80s, 1982. I worked for a restaurant chain called the Black Eyed Pea. I don't know if there were any up here or not. Southern type food, obviously. But I found some pay stubs, and I was quite depressed with the money I was making in 1982. Where did it go? I don't know.
Right. Well, you got married and had kids, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
What do you mean exactly, Clayton?
At 39, or right around 39, you said you were trucking along, you were living the high life, 13 to 39, and then.
Don't want to go too far into it, I don't think. But as a married man of 16 years, I made some mistakes. Went down the wrong path. Hence my third child. And I was basically a lot of people do this, and I figured it out at an early age, but I was living two lives for a little bit. And you can't do that. It doesn't work.
Oh, buddy, you end up getting caught in one of them, right?
Right. So, but you know me well enough to know that what I'm going to say next is I wouldn't change a thing. Did I hurt some people? Were there broken hearts involved? Does my heart still grieve and ache of the pain that I caused to other people? Absolutely, to this very second.
Greg, you are one of the most honest, vulnerable, emotional, not in a bad way, authentic, encouraging people I know. But correct me if I'm wrong. Those characteristics that I know and love so much about Greg Hitt was formed during this season of your life. Right? Everybody who sits at this table has a dark night of the soul. And it is through the dark night of the soul that you become the amazing person you are. And so it's this season of your life that radically changed you.
Without question.
You had an affair.
I did.
And as a result of that affair, you have a third child.
Yes.
Now, the strange thing about this, and just because I know and we know Greg on this side, right? The 63-year-old amazing man who's accomplished so much in life, that we don't know the before Greg and the Greg that was going through these things. So we know this story has a happy ending, right? It's like watching a movie and the narrator is talking about his life. Well, we know that narrator didn't die because he's narrating the movie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So although we don't know the gory details, we do know that it has a happy ending, at least up until today.
There's no question about that.
You deeply love your third child.
Oh, yes.
As much as you love your first two.
Yes.
And though the relationship started out as a mistake or an oops or shouldn't have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, God had purpose.
Yes.
There was an intended and maybe wasn't God's plan. However, God is sovereign.
Yes.
Do you know Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Do you know that he comes from one of the most screwed up family lineages you will ever find?
I am aware.
Right? I mean, his sixth great grandfather or something like that was King David, who had Solomon, right? For a different woman. That's Jesus' grandparents. God has purpose and plan despite us and through our own mistakes.
Yeah, forgiveness has played a huge role in my life since I was 39. I had two women that did not like each other very much.
Well, right. I mean,
But God is amazing. I wouldn't say they're best friends, but we've all been around each other. My ex-wife has forgiven her, and vice versa, and they got all those struggles past themselves, so that we can all freely talk and about it all. And it's once again, it goes back to all the love in my family and the forgiveness and the kindness.
yeah. Now, I don't want to trivialize that season of your life. However, I do want to talk a little bit more, but I don't want to go into the gory details of everything.
I'm with you.
But as a result of that relationship, a blessing came, who is your son. And he's pretty amazing. I've seen some of the work he's done. He's a very talented kid, and he's got a bright future for him.
Without question.
But take us back to those days. And we're going to get through this in a couple minutes, and we'll move on and laugh again. But take me through those days of a girlfriend says to you, I think I'm pregnant.
Yes.
And eventually you have to go home to your wife and to your two kids.
Yes.
And is this all right around 39 years old?
Yes.
So you've had a pretty extraordinary life, and everything you've touched turned to gold.
I was at the height
of
my success,
Yeah.
and at that point was the catering business was the pinnacle of my.
So back in that season, late 30s. So it's been a great 25-year run. Family's good, come from good people, business is good. You fell into something that radically shook your foundation.
To its core, yes.
And then you had a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that kind of culminated at the same time.
Yes, it's amazing how all that happened so soon together.
You decided, obviously, clearly, to keep the child, the son, right?
There was no question.
There's no question, but there are other options.
Are there options for other people? Yes, for me, there was not an option.
And struggling through this decision, you and your wife decided it was best to divorce.
Yes.
And you decided it was best to start a relationship, long-term relationship, with your son's mother.
Correct.
You enter a dark night of the soul by nobody else's mistakes but yours.
Absolutely.
And you did the best you could with it.
That's all I knew to do.
You loved that woman, and you raised that son.
Yes.
And you guys had a pretty great relationship.
We did.
Your son, so you and your girlfriend raised your son together.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I'm assuming, this had to be scandalous.
I hated myself for a long time.
It probably wasn't in the newspapers, but it didn't need
Might
to
as
be,
well have been.
because the entire Little Rock, North Little Rock community, especially in the restaurant world, knew what happened?
I basically disappeared. I shrunk. I went invisible for a while.
Got rid of it all. Got rid of...
In my way.
Yeah. Got rid of the businesses, got rid of everything, had a heart attack, life change, I need to start over. You start over with your girlfriend and your son, and you build a new life with them.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Not abandoning your first wife and your 2 children with her.
Absolutely not. I was with my children every possible chance that I could get, bringing them together. They're very close to this day, which you don't see very often. Doesn't happen a lot.
And I don't want to stop you because I love hearing you talk. I appreciate the story so much. But I think what's important for everyone to really understand here is maybe you didn't do it right, but God, right? So my favorite verse in the whole Bible, I don't even know where it's at, and it's said a couple of times, it is ... but God. But God had a plan. But God was able to restore. But God could restore the years the locust has eaten. But God could turn beauty out of ashes. This is why it's such an amazing story. This is why it's such an amazing life. Is because as hard as we try to mess this gift up called life, God still restores it for his purposes if we let him. And so back then, I don't know if you were a Christian, where you were with God, and you're religious and Bible and church activities, but you made some mistakes and you did the best you could, giving it to God, and he absolutely restored it all. So your wife, your girlfriend, your 3 children are now part of this loving family that you talked about.
Absolutely.
That's one of the most incredible things in the world, right?
I'm amazed and shocked every day about it.
So as a result of this life change, you had to find another career. Mm-hmm. And so then in your 40s, you lost all your money, you lost your business, you lost your family, you lost everything. You have nothing except a new girlfriend and a new son. You start rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And you rebuild your reputation. You didn't move to Alaska, right? You still live in Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock, Arkansas.
I only hid out in my head.
You rebuilt your reputation. You rebuilt a new business. You rebuilt a family. You rebuilt your old family. You got into the credit card processing world. Mm-hmm. All right, so just so everyone knows, I am a classically trained professional actor that has an extraordinary day job in the credit card processing world, right? Apparently, I'm a better salesman than I am an actor. And this is actually how Greg and I know. So in your 40s, then, you got into a new business. You couldn't handle the stress, the life, the lifestyle, the loss of reputation. You couldn't overcome those things. So you did a new thing. And what happened?
Well, actually, it wasn't immediate. I helped a friend of mine open a business, a restaurant and a catering business. I spent a few years doing that. And then I went to work for a check processing company, which is a thing of the past, right?
Check, yeah.
And I got a phone call from a guy in Florida from a company called Retriever Payment Systems. And he started talking about the money and how it works. I said, what? And we met, and I set up an office, and that was that. And that was around 22 or 23 years ago.
It was about just shy of 25 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a little, point is, there was a little time period there between me not coming out of my house or my head for a little while until I moved on.
So your second career is very similar to your first career. You've got a young partner, a young baby, and you're off building a business. Mm-hmm. You're traveling the world. You become your dad, a traveling salesman.
Absolutely.
It was extraordinary.
Absolutely
and
extraordinary.
Everybody that knows you loves you. But now you start wrestling with some of the dark thoughts. You start thinking badly of yourself. Even though your world is successful again, you start wrestling with who I am, who I was created to be, who I was built to be.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? clearly God has purpose. But what's the purpose?
Well, I'm not 100% clear on that still, but you know me all too well, and I have spent a lot of time over the last 10 or 15 years struggling with that. What is my purpose? What is the purpose? What's anybody's purpose? I messed up. I don't know where to go from here. I suffered with depression off and on, mostly on.
Let's couch that a second. You suffered with depression. Do you think it was situational? It was a result of failure?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're...
Shame,
Yeah.
failure, letting people down, breaking hearts, things that just crush my soul.
Did you start drinking?
No.
No. So you didn't run to booze?
No.
Did you start doing drugs?
No.
How did you numb the pain?
Surrounded by a lot of amazing, loving family who would not let me crawl into my hole and not come out. And a lot of friends the same way that knew me all well enough to know that if I got quiet for too long, they needed to come looking for me because I was in my hidey hole and didn't want to play the game anymore. And so I'm so grateful for those friends and my family, of course, without question, without saying, that just kept me going out the door every day and seeing the sunlight and the sunshine and the flowers and the trees, and things are going to get better. And it worked. I feel better today than probably any time ever. I have more peace with my life today than possibly any other time.
We're gonna fast forward because again today you have 3 extraordinary kids that you love.
Mm-hmm.
They're all brilliant in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
One is an artist, one is a rock star, and one is the best mother who's ever lived. Right?
You nailed it.
So, in spite of yourself, God did a thing. Your girlfriend, your partner, she went to seminary and became a pastor. Mm-hmm. And she now lives in a different part of the country, leading and pastoring a church and continuing to be a great mom.
Yep.
And continuing to take care of children in her community. And she's a wonderful woman. And your wife, your first wife, was a wonderful woman, and everybody really gets along now.
Absolutely. It's like I could get a call from my ex-wife, today at 3:00 to go and say, "What's that guy's name that we used to work with?" And we will laugh and giggle and say, "Good to talk to you," and then it'll happen again next week or next month. And she ended up marrying again in the last year or so, but I went to first grade on with this guy.
Right, so he's one of your childhood friends, right?
Absolutely. So we're buddies. So when Christmas comes, Thanksgiving, Easter, holidays, dinners, we're all there together.
Yeah.
Either my daughter's house or whatever. We're all, it's just like it's always been that way. It's pretty amazing. I don't know how I got here.
You don't know how you got here. I'm seldom stunned, but I'm stunned, and so much so that I'm going to wrap up episode 2 of Talking with Greg a little bit short. We're gonna land this plane in episode 3. Guys, I'm so happy that you came to check us out. This is a 316 podcast. I'm Clayton from 316 Creative Works. Thanks for checking us out. Hey, this is Clayton from 316 Creative Works, talking about our podcast. Listen, if you like any of this stuff that you saw or you heard, I'm going to give you a couple places where you might find it besides coming in live to the Farmhouse Studios. There's a couple platforms you can find these on. So you can check out Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So for the cheap seats in the back there, let me say this one more time. You can go to Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and SoundCloud. You can find it under 316 Podcasts.